Hey, how you doing? My name is Brandon Mongero. I work for Potions Llc based out of Holmes, New York. And today I'm here to show you how to backwash a filter. This process will apply to both DE filters and sand filters as so long as they have what's called a multi-port valve. It's a three-step process basically, and it goes like this. So let's start from the beginning. Here's the filter system running. Everything's running, water's flowing through the motor. The first thing we have to do is turn the power off at your time clock or your circuit breaker. Power's off. The next thing we have to do is come all the way over here to the multi-port, and you'll see this little glass thing right here. This little glass thing is called a sight glass, and it's always on the waistline of the multi-port. And that's where all the debris and contaminants are going to be flushed out of the filter, out of this line. So let me simply take his extension hose and extend it away from all his valuable equipment. Make sure there's no kinks in the hose or you'll end up blowing a hole in the hose and getting all wet. And it's no fun to get wet unless it's in your swimming pool. So we lay the hose out nice and straight like this. Come back over to the filter system. And back over to the multi-port. As you can see right now, it is in the filter position. What we're going to do is press down on the handle and rotate the handle until it's in the backwash position, where it says backwash. Once it's in the backwash position, I'm going to come back over to our time clock and fire it up. You're now going to see the water coming out of the waistline over there. The water itself, if you'd like to take a walk with me real quick, should be cloudy, dirty, sometimes orange, sometimes green, depending upon what contaminants are in the water. This water is white, and the reason why it's white is because of all the stain removers that we've had to put in this specific swimming pool for the hard water issues. It means they're working. So with that said, all we're waiting for is about roughly 1 to 3 minutes worth of backwash time until this water becomes about 90 to 95% clear. It's never going to be 100% clear, so don't drive yourself crazy trying to get it that way through this system. All right? For the purposes of this video, we're going to expedite the process. This is clear enough. Like I said, once again, it takes 1 to 3 minutes. All right? Come back over to the system. Next step is to turn the clock back off. In between any movement you make, there can be no power, no electricity. It will mess up the multi-port spider gasket on the inside. And you'll be calling me for a service call. The next step, once that's back off again, is to go to the rinse cycle, which is clearly labeled rinse. Press down once again, go to the rinse cycle, put her down, turn it back on. This cycle should take about 90 seconds at most. Let's take a look at the water over here. As you can see, the water flow, even through the discharge, has become greater, faster, and more powerful. Not to mention, clearer. Once again, for the purposes of this instructional video, this will be good enough for us. But once again, it takes no longer than 90 seconds on rinse cycle to clear out the rest of the residual contaminants in the pool. Once we do that, we come back on over to the filter system. And what do? We turn it off. Because once again, if you don't do that, you'll be calling me for a service call. Which is fine. We'll do that. Your last step in this process, once the electricity is back off, is to put it back into the original mode that you just saw, which was filter, right here. Boom, filter, there it is. And it's always a good idea, while you're backwashing your filter, to make sure there's nothing in the motor basket. In this case, I see a couple floaters in there. Let's see what we got in here. Simply unscrew these. Pop the top off. Looks like they had a late night last night. They didn't make it. So what we're going to do is empty that all out. Make sure it's nice and clear, free of debris. It's also a good idea to stick your fingers in here and make sure there's nothing lodged in there, like a sticker or something like that of that nature. It's very common. You put the basket back in. It does only go one way. If you put it in like this and it don't fit right, you done did it wrong. So what we're going to do is make sure it's in the right way, which is like that, where it floats right down to the bottom. Next step is to replace the lid. Screw these back on. Make sure it's airtight. Tight is tight, remember. If you go too tight, you'll end up breaking these plastic things in here. On this particular version of this motor, it's an older housing, and these actual clamps were still made out of brass or some type of aluminum or steel. Nowadays, they're made out of plastic, and if you over tighten, you will break them. Once the top is back on, you come over here. You do like I do, and make sure once again you're in filter mode. Come back over here, turn your power back on. You'll see the water start to come into the motor. It'll start to come in faster and faster and faster until we achieve what's called full prime in the motor, which is we don't see any air bubbles at all, or if any, they're tiny in nature. If you have tiny air bubbles, that's okay. It's not a major problem. If you have big air bubbles, you have a major problem. I'll give you an example of tiny air bubbles. That's tiny air bubbles to the point where you can't even see them, and as we're pointing at it right now, they're clearing up to the point where it is just completely water and almost looks like there's nothing in there. The last step of this process that you want to do is you want to take a look at your pressure gauge, which is right under here. It's most of the time on top of the filter. Sometimes it could be located on the multi-port somewhere. And make sure that you're somewhere. Every filter runs at a different PSI depending upon the pool components and what type of equipment, the gallonage of the pool, and the whole 9 yards. But this one always runs between 10 and 20. We're running a constant 15 PSI right now, which is absolutely perfect. And that, my friends, is how you backwash your filter system. Thanks for listening. www.poolpotions.com. Check us out on the web, and we'd be glad to take care of you. Have a good day.